We want our policy to be logged with log all sessions or only security events. That's the basics of a simple full access policy. If you enabled Web Application Firewall on your Fortigate, then you need to know of XSS, Cross-Site Scripting, one of the most known and malicious attacks on web servers. More on XSS coming right now. To get more easy setup tips for your Fortigate firewall, subscribe now and don't forget to click on the bell notification and you won't miss anything. When you think of web apps, any web app, in its basic, it is built around three components. That's the very basic. There's HTML, the markup language. There's the programming language which adds interactivity into the page itself. We usually use JavaScript. And there's the CSS, which is responsible for the styling. Now, think of a web app that when a user enters an input into one of the forms, fields, or any place that a user input is needed, it doesn't sanitize between a pure data, that is text, and a malicious code. Malicious attackers use XSS for different reasons. It can be a harmful reason, such as changing the look and feel of the web app, its background image, or copy its computer, or to even insert a keylogger that will send any keystroke to a specific URL. There are actually two types of XSS attacks. The first one is reflected XSS, that is XSS attack or malicious script that is reflected on the victim's browser. And the second one is stored XSS, which is the malicious code that is stored in the web app database and is executed every time when the user calls the specific function. Now, what can you do with XSS? Well, just about anything. If you head over to XSS payloads, you can find out different JavaScript payloads that can be inserted as a malicious code on a web app field or form and can be used to capture keystrokes, can be used to take screenshots out of your screen, or even grab images from your webcam. So XSS is pure evil when it is used in the hands of the wrong man. Let's look at how the JavaScript itself looks like. So that's the JavaScript itself. Now, in most of the cases, the JavaScript code also takes the information that it grabs. It can be a screenshot from your computer or even your cookies that are being stolen and sends it to the attacker URL where they can grab it and use it against you. One very known attack is when you use XSS to steal some other user's cookies and then head over to the same website Five best tips for using your antivirus within your Fortigate. The first one, choose whether to use it in a flow-based mode or a proxy-based mode. You can see that in a flow-based mode, the features are quite limited, but moving into a proxy-based mode, you can see that you have much more options when using antivirus. The second tip, choose your database. There are actually three main data. Use the config antivirus settings and set the different database. You can use the default database, the extended database, and in specific Fortigate modules, there's also the extreme database, which actually includes just about any signature. Our third tip is use Ware and heuristics. Now, when you scan using antivirus, the first step is to look for known signatures. The second step is to look for Ware. Ware is not by definition a malware. It is an unsolicited program that usually downloads to your computer without you ever knowing about it. A good example is an adware. So how do you enable Ware? Again, config antivirus settings, set Ware. Now you can enable or disable. My tip, always make Ware enable. Alright, now for the fourth tip, use heuristics. Now what is heuristic? Heuristics, let's just, alright, let's config antivirus, but this time not settings, but heuristics. Now heuristics is actually an analysis of behavior, the way a file behaves. Now, Fortigate looks for different patterns, and if the file behaves in a suspicious way, you can determine what to do with it. Now you can set mode to pass the suspicious file, you can block the suspicious file, or you can disable the heuristic features. Now, why do you need, or why do you want to disable this feature? Because it adds up much more false tip. And the last tip is use hardware acceleration for antivirus scanning. Now, acceleration works only on the flow-based antivirus, not on the proxy one. And Fortigate models that features the NP4 or the NP6 can accelerate the antivirus processing to enhance performance. So use it by typing in your command line config IPS global, set npxl mode and choose none or basic. Basic actually enables the acceleration itself. And the last tip that I have for you guys is don't forget to subscribe to FortiTip. Let me show you the best application control tips for your Fortigate, and we start right now. To get more easy setup tips for your Fortigate firewall, subscribe now and don't forget to click on the bell notification and you won't miss anything. Application control scans your traffic, your network traffic for applications that you wish to control. Now it does so using the IPS, the Intrusion Prevention System engine, and its protocol decoders. Now the order of the operation is quite significant. The first thing it scans is the application override. that is different signatures. The second thing is filter override, where you can group applications that have the same behavior, such as excessive bandwidth. And the last thing it does is scans for the different categories. So if you wish to block a category such as gaming, and yet you wish to enable a specific game such as the Battlefield game, you can do it. Start by scanning application override. It will see that it will allow the game, still it will monitor it, keep logs of it, and then it will look for the filter overrides. Currently we don't have anything in the filter overrides, and then it will look at the categories where it will block any other game. When the IPS engine finds a match to an application, it tells your Fortigate that it found an application ID number. Now, Fortinet keeps a database IDs and a question mark. May seem obvious, believe that it is globally enabled on any, name it, and then through that policy alone. Your user HTTP based application, you can use that will include the following information: is the FortiGate's host name and the UUID of the policy that was governing the traffic. It is good in an organization that you have many FortiGate devices. You can look up at the host name of the FortiGate and tell which FortiGate actually blocked the traffic. Now our last tip, which we will include a specific video on it in the coming future, is traffic shaping. You can actually traffic shape any application and allocate guaranteed bandwidth or maximum bandwidth to that specific application. It can be your Netflix or whichever application you use the most. Now you configure a traffic shaper and you configure a traffic shaping policy. That traffic shaping policy can be determined on a specific policy and specific categories such as video and audio, where you can actually different applications such as the Netflix application. Fortigate captive portal in 3 minutes. Here's how. To get more easy setup tips for your Fortigate firewall, subscribe now and don't forget to click on the bell notification and you won't miss anything. So you have outsourced employees connected to one of your interfaces and you wish to restrict the access to the network. What do? You use captive portal. How? Here's how. The first thing to do is to create a new user group that is dedicated to those outsourced employees. So let's create one. Let's use the guest as our user group, and let's use email as a method to deliver the password for that captive portal. The expiration of the account is 4 hours, but you can change it. That's the first step. The second thing to do is to create an administrator that is responsible only for the provisioning of the guest accounts. So let's use my name, let's use a password, and let's restrict that admin for guest accounts for the outsourced employees. Now, the third thing to do is to head over to that interfaces that our employees will connect through. And let's move over to the security mode. Let's choose, usually it is none. Now, we will use captive portal. We will restrict it to that outsourced employee group. And we finish the third step. Let's create a policy that will allow outsourced employees to get into the network, and outsource EMP. The incoming interface is the interface of the outsourced employees. The outgoing is our WAN. Source will be all and will be outsourced employee user group. Destination is all. Service is all. All right. Now let's log out and let's get into the new admin page that will allow us to create password for those employees. Now let's use my email, and Fortigate will generate a password that we can print it out or send it via email. Now if we log out again and enter with our super admin credentials, we will see that in our user group we already have one member, which is the member that we have sent the password to that email.